Hello, everybody. This is Paul Herman, the Prince of Motivation and host of Zaka Presents My Journey. We're creating this vulnerable and positive platform where you get inspired and motivated from different leaders from our community. Today, our guest is Tico Armand, who is an author, model, and also an actress as well. Welcome to the show, Tico.
Oh, wow. What an introduction. Thank you so much, Paul, for having me. And Greg for having me. It is an honor
Uh-huh.
to be able to grace your mic, I would say, and get talk about some things. But yeah, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Blessings, blessing. We're gonna be talking today. Trust. But
Mhm.
before we get into the talking, let's dive into a little bit more of your cultural background and where you're from.
Well, I am Haitian American.
Okay.
I was born in Haiti. I came here when I was 5. So I grew up between Brooklyn, New York, and Florida. So I've always lived between, two cultures, two different environment. And I think that just basically really shaped how I see or how I view the world, especially,
Mm,
growing up in Brooklyn.
Okay, I got to give it to you, Brooklyn. I'm from the Bronx.
Hey.
Yeah. So we got the bees in there, right? So shout to that.
Exactly.
So you was born in Haiti, you said,
I was born
and,
in Haiti.
and then went to Florida and then went to Brooklyn.
No, New York, straight to New York.
Oh, straight to New York. Okay,
And moved
okay.
to later
I
on.
got you. And did you feel like when you when did you come over here? Like when does that time happen?
Over where?
When you left Haiti? I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
trying
I
to.
left Haiti when I was 5 years old.
Okay, got
I
you.
left,
Okay.
yes, I left Haiti very, very young. I don't necessarily remember anything when I left Haiti at that age. Honestly, I just remember my childhood in New York, but I don't have much memory pertaining to those first 5 years in Haiti.
And what part of Haiti were you born in?
I was born in Port-au-Prince. My family is
Oh.
from Jacmel, but I'm from I was born in Port-au-Prince.
hmm And for the listeners, could you give us a little bit of understanding of Haiti and what the culture is in Haiti and the vibe over there?
Gosh, Haiti is like Little Africa. I think we're the Caribbean island that's the closest to the motherland. Um,
Mm,
in color, in culture, the people. It's just because, I've been to Africa. Well, I've been to a few places in Africa, and it's like, yo, this is just the Haiti on steroid, especially Nigeria. But we, of course, we're the first freed Black Republic. We are a country that is vibrant, that is full of love, that is beautiful. Our food, top tier, top notch. Listen, no
mm-hmm.
debating, you
I
know.
got. I'm here. Look, I'm Jamaican and St. Lucian, so I have to debate a little bit, but I
Oh,
do give it to y'all. I do give
listen,
it.
listen, we could debate all you want. I'm just letting you know it's not up for debate.
Oh, my fault. My fault. Hands up. Hands up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll let you keep talking.
But you know what? As far as Jamaicans, I'll give it to them with the oxtail. They got us. They got listen. Okay, I'll give it to you where it's yours. But everything else, you can count on us to bring it through. But yeah, Haiti is just a beautiful Caribbean island that very proud to be Haitian. And we have a very rich history, extremely rich history, and I would I would tell any black person, whether you're from the Caribbean, you're African American, whatever it is, to just do a little research on, La Perle des Antilles, and you'll be
Mm,
amazed. You'll be amazed.
hmm
Yeah, because
Okay.
we were the first, we were the rebellious, you know, uh,
That
uh
is true.
yeah, yeah.
That's true. If you hear them stories about any of the older stories of the Haitian population community,
Yeah,
that rebellion,
yeah.
it's serious. It's serious. So shout out to the whole, the Haitian culture. I'm glad you were able to share that. A lot of our listeners are, probably tuning in for the first time and understanding about the Haitian culture. So I'm glad you were able to kind of give it from your perspective, and it aligns with a lot of our thought leaders that have come on the show before. And it brings me to our next question. Like, what talking about your upbringing, like in the household, how
Mhm.
was it growing up in an immigrant with an immigrant background, being, from Haiti, coming over here? Like, how did it kind of shape like some of uh your lifestyle currently today?
Wow. Honestly. as I said, I don't necessarily remember anything, you know, that happened to me between the age of 1 and 5. However, growing up in Brooklyn, New York, I know outside was foreign, but inside was Haiti. Okay, so
Oh, good way of saying it. I give you that.
yeah, so Haiti was still, within the household. Still spoke Creole, still Haitian food, still very much grounded within the Haitian culture. And I think that's one of the reasons too I am who I am today, due to the fact that that was grounded within me. It wasn't like, okay, you come to America and completely forget or abandon where it is that you came from. No, within the household, we were the traditional Haitian and we kept everything tradition. It was just on the outside that was foreign. And to be quite honest with you, even though I left Haiti at a very young age, coming to the United States, especially, New York City, it felt
Hmm.
it was different. And
Hmm.
I didn't feel that I belonged. And it took quite a while to adapt to the culture, to the people, the language. Oh my God, it was so hard to speak English. Okay. I could not
Hmm.
fake anything outside being a Haitian. And this is around the time where it was like Haitian booty scratcher.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
my God, I
yeah,
used to get beat
yeah.
up. Listen,
That
it
was the line right there. Who even came up with that? Like, come on, let's be real. Like, wildness. Kids
yeah,
will be kids,
it was a
right?
time. It
Yeah,
was a
it
time.
was time.
But it made me tough. It made me have tough skin. And then I will tell anyone, growing up in a Haitian household, you will have tough skin, just the way that you're brought up, right? Because the mentality of our parents is as long as they put food on the table, there's a roof over your head, and you're going to school and church, they don't owe you anything else. You know what I mean? So growing up in a Haitian household gave us uh how would I say, a bulletproof mentality or spirit, right?
Hmm.
Where it was very hard to break us because we had already been broken. So
Hmm.
it,
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
it's it's like, when you're at your lowest low, all you can do is look up. I
Yeah.
think the majority of us growing up, that's what it was, right? So the dynamic was very different. It wasn't it was it was nothing like I could truly explain or put into words. But one thing I did realize at a very young age is, I'm a minority to the third power. I'm Black, I'm woman, I'm Haitian. So therefore I have to work 10 times harder, right?
Mm,
For
mm, mm,
everything, absolutely
mm,
everything, even to, my African American counterpart, right? And so that is also my superpower, if that makes
mm.
sense. You know,
I
so
get you.
it changes how I see everything. You understand early on that opportunities just they're just all there aren't they aren't always handed to you. You know what I mean? And the risk that you do take comes
Hmm.
heavier sacrifice, heavier consequences. And that responsibility, showed up sooner than later for me, unfortunately in life. So for me, hard work was, what would I say? Hard work, it wasn't an option. Like it became my default. That's
Okay.
the best way to say it. Hard work
Okay.
became my default because one, being an immigrant, and as I said, an immigrant to the third power, like Haitian women, we have to work 10 times as hard for
Mm,
absolutely any and everything in life. And so therefore, you don't have an option. There isn't a plan B. So you have to work hard. You have to show up. You have to. So,
yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad you're bringing up a lot of these things. I mean, just the thought of just like you said, I like how you said to the third power.
mhm,
Like that's some people are like, oh, I'm just black, right? And but then you're saying a woman, then you're saying being Haitian,
yeah,
right? It's and then obviously if you were a Haitian growing up in Haiti, be a lot different. It
Absolutely.
wouldn't feel like it would be to the third power as it
Mhm.
is over here. Like coming over here to America, learning the language, trying to fit in. There's a lot of times where you could probably lose yourself in there. So talk to me about a little bit of those unspoken pressures, like growing up as a child, as an immigrant, but also as a child of immigrants, right? Like how did that influence you?
Wow. Um, so let me first say like my family dynamic was very different. When I came to the United States, uh my father brought us in. So I have an older sister. So it was me, her, my dad, right? My mom was still in Haiti. And my father ended up passing away. So of course we were still too young. Thank you. We were still too young to make a decision as far as who we wanted to live with. So Haiti had to make that decision on our behalf. So we lived with an aunt, right? And
In New York.
yeah,
Okay.
my father's sister.
Mm.
Um it I'm very grateful, but it wasn't ideal. I'm gonna say that. So there was a lot of pressure. Um Pressure and not wanting to let the family down, right? Even though my father was no longer, but I still have family in Haiti. I have my mother that's still in Haiti. And in a Haitian household, that's a big deal. You got to hold up to your name, right? And so that pressure, um, your success in the Haitian community is often seen as a reflection, you know, of your parents or of your guardian. So you carry that weight as well. And that's why there's so much pressure, that is put on you. Now, I think any child that's able to break free from that pressure, you're blessed. God bless you, because that means that you're listening to your own voice and you're not allowing the pressure of community, of family to shape who you want to become. And a lot of us don't find that voice until later on in life, right? So for me, with having that pressure and not having any structure or not having any support, made it that much difficult, that much more difficult. And I'm not going to say I became rebellious, but I started valuing my voice more because somewhere along that journey or along that line, that became more important to me because that was like my therapy. That's what
I
calmed,
see.
that's what kept me together. You know what I mean? And so the pressure was there, but the guidance wasn't. And that shaped my independence very, very early on in life.
So who would you consider your role models back then,
Oh
and why, if that's the case?
gosh, this.
We tapping in. We tapping in right now. You putting me in a position to ask these questions with what you're saying. So I'm just diving in even more.
I, if I'm being honest, I don't think I had a specific role model. I think I was
Okay.
too focused on surviving and figuring things out. If that makes sense. I don't
No,
know how
that
to
makes
make
sense.
it make sense, like don't get me wrong, I was inspired, by different people along the way, along my journey. But I didn't have one person that I could say I looked up to that person or I wanted to be like them or, this is how I would want my life to be. My journey was more about My journey was more about discovery than, imitation, if that makes sense. You know,
Mm-mm.
yeah.
And it's okay to not have like that one role model. I know there's been a lot of individuals that said some one in the thought leader said it wasn't even like a person, it was a TV show, right?
Mm,
You know, because as immigrants, you know, you come here and one of the big things you're probably watching is TV shows like sitcoms. So they found
yeah.
TV show characters or
Cosby Show and all of
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
you know,
those things inspired me, right? When I had the opportunity, which was very rare, to be able to say, oh, I can watch this today. I think at a very young age, I was on survival mode.
yeah.
And so, and it's not,
So it's hard to find that one person.
yeah,
Right?
like I wasn't intentional on saying, I need a role model. That's the last thing on your mind. You're
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah. You trying to learn
like
the language.
you have a deceased parent, you have another one that's in Haiti that you haven't spoken to in years. You're trying to figure out life out. Your situation is not ideal. Last thing I'm doing is saying, "Oh yeah, I want."
I
Uh,
want to be like you.
it's
Yeah, no,
like,
that's and I think that's where that individual had said to that thought leader that was on, you know, when they said, yeah, you know, I looked at TV shows, you know, whether it be like a hanging with Mr. Cooper, Martin, or
Mhm.
something along those lines, the Family Matters, the
Yeah.
Cosbys. You then look at that and say, well, you know what? I don't have anyone around me because they're all struggling as well too, right?
Hmm.
They're all going through it, so it's hard to look at that person who's older than you in the household that potentially could be the role model who's just like going down, falling, like hurting, not even having their stuff together. And then you don't want to look at someone who doesn't look like you or speak the language like you. It's a little bit harder to kind of relate to them, right? So then
I
they
mean,
look online and they see something. So I don't knock you for that. I mean, I appreciate you being vulnerable and expressing. Like some people are, oh yeah, I found me a role model, no problem. But
in
like you
theory,
said,
it sounds great. Don't get me wrong. In theory, it sounds great. And also, too, you have to understand that, yeah, don't get me wrong, the Cosby Show, Family Matters, but there was still a different dynamic in a sense of,
yes, 100%.
yeah, you know,
100%. So that's where they what that's where they kind of look to I think they probably look for inspiration and be like, I want my family to be like this. And I
yeah,
hope that one day my father could be like this, or my mother, or I could be like this, you know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
again, it is very hard to also find, even like currently today, to find a role model in your own life now, you know, with all the stuff you're going on. And that's what I want to kind of dive into a little bit of the industry that you're in, you know, with this modeling stuff. You know,
Mhm.
I'm in the industry myself as well, not with modeling, but more of dancing. But I know that a lot of times people look at success in beauty in a very narrow-minded kind of thing, right? You know, how did you like in this modeling career? How did you like redefine your own worth when it comes to this kind of stuff?
That's a real question.
Tap tap.
Ah, in in that world or that industry, it's something you have to constantly do, like on a day to day basis. What do I mean? Because it's the world of beauty, it's the world of fashion, it's fast money,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
glitz and glam, every day you're reminded that your value can be measured by what? A callback, a booking, how you're compared to another model, you know what I mean? Another talent. Um, and you have to do the work of actively rejecting that. And it didn't happen for me overnight. I remember the first modeling agency that I thought I was going to be signed to. I went with my portfolio. I had my appointment. I'm super excited, and nervous. Walk in there, sat with their booking agent. He went through my pictures, gave me all of these compliments. And in my head, I'm like, thank God I'm in. And I'm about to say the agency. At the end of it all, he was like, but I'm sorry, you're not the next model. After all the compliments, after all the smiles, after all the beautiful talk. And this man said, I'm sorry, you're not the next model. And this was Next Agency, by the way,
Mm,
on
mm.
Miami Beach. I remember I walked out of there and I bawled out. Like it wasn't, it was that ugly cry.
Mm.
Like, man, I can't believe my foot was literally at the door and they slammed the door in my face. And I remember saying to myself, because it took me like a week to recover, I said, I don't ever, ever want to give anyone the power of deciding my value, my worth, or any of that. That is the worst feeling. And
Yeah.
so, redefining my worth meant understanding that it wasn't tied to the clothes I wore, the jobs I got, the rejections, that I faced. It wasn't my integrity, right? It was in the way I carried myself. It was
Mhm.
how I treated other people, even in difficult environments. Because the reality of it is, the modeling world, it looks so beautiful, but it can be so difficult. It can be
Yeah.
so challenging. You know, it can wash you out. It can
Yeah.
make you question
Your life
your,
and the decisions you've made prior to even get there.
yeah. And so for me, that's what it's about. It's not tied to anything else. That's why even on social media, if I post a picture, okay, the bad comments and the good listen, ain't no bad or good comment. They come
I
and
mean,
go.
you gotta have some thick skin. You gotta be, and that just goes to show your
Mhm,
level of like being in this industry and quickly understanding
yeah.
what's needed of you. Right?
Oh
Some
yeah.
people walk through this industry day in and day out, looking for the next handout, looking for some validation, someone to
Mhm,
say you're beautiful and take you in. Versus
mhm,
like, look, I'm beautiful just because I'm a really great human being. Let's get that straight first. Like
mhm,
that's the beauty right there, being
mhm,
able to say hello to people, open a door,
mhm.
wonderful warm gestures, things like that go a long way. And I know a lot of times in the industry, especially for me, coming up in the game, a lot of those opportunities came about because I put that first. I
Bingo.
didn't put I'm this dancer. I've been training for years. I work with this person. It's just, hey, hello, good afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm ready for today. You ready? And just be excited, to be in the room and be present. And people would say like, I don't know who he is, but I like his energy.
Yes.
This is something that we're looking for. Versus the other individual who's just walking in there, you could just tell that they're looking for the opportunity. Got the bag, got the makeup, got the hair.
Mhm,
They're dressed to the T.
mhm,
And my management team at one point when I was on tour said the lines I never forget. They said, if I don't want to be in a hotel room with you on a tour or for
mhm.
like 5 years or for a year on a tour, then I don't want you on this tour, right? It's not about could you get the steps. It's do I want to be around you? And I was
Yes.
like,
Me.
this what we arguing about? Do I want to be around you? And it didn't register for me at first. I was like,
Mhm,
don't you want to be around the best dancers? And
mhm.
to them, they were like, they've been doing it longer than I was doing it, right? They were like, it's not about the steps at this point in time. It's can I be around you that long?
Yes. Yes.
And being on that tour, I think my brother and I, we sit on that tour for a very long time because we saw that as the thing that should be put first. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I'm glad you're saying that because some people need to hear what we just talked about and hopefully change their mindset on what they do.
Listen, and sometimes too, it's meant turning down opportunities that does not align.
And we're gonna talk about
You
that.
understand
That
that?
was my next
Yeah.
question to you.
You know, it's turning those down because even when I need the money, not
Mhm.
all money is good money. And
Come
some
on.
money will set you back,
Hmm.
will set your career back.
True that.
So,
Your
it's
reputation, everything.
yeah.
Stuff that you work so hard to get. You could
Hmm.
always find money. Your reputation, you can't just find. You just can't just be like, oh, my reputation is good today, right? No, it takes time. It builds up integrity and all these things that go around with your name. But money comes and goes. right? And that's brings me to my next question for you, which is, and you kind of hinted on it a little bit, like some of these roles and some of these projects, especially being an actress, there's a lot of storytelling, right? And I know sometimes in movie world, right, the movie industry, they depict black women in a certain type of way.
Yeah.
So in that, how did you like kind of stay aligned and not jump ship? Because obviously you're trying to impact the larger community and not just your wallet.
Right. Um, I had to learn that. I'm not going to try to sit here and be like, oh yeah, I started and I just knew not to take certain roles. No, that's something I had to grow into. Early on, I had roles that, challenged me as an actress. And I loved it, right? But I didn't always feel good about the message behind the role, that I was playing.
True that.
But it was like, yeah, I want to sharpen, those skills. I want to see, how good of an actress I can be. I want to challenge myself. And I realized that in our industry, especially in Black Hollywood, pain, struggles, like they're often overrepresented, right? And hell, even celebrated. Okay. So at a certain point in my career, right, I realized that I had a responsibility
Okay, I give you that. Yeah.
and not just to my craft, but to the people watching, especially
Mm.
young girls. When it
The
comes to
next
beauty,
generation.
yeah, when it comes to, that line of work, like you got kids as young as 7, 8 years old that look up to me,
Yeah.
you know? And so,
And they don't know that that's just the role.
absolutely.
They could be looking at it like, oh, this is what she wants to do.
Hmm.
So they don't know what's real and what's fake because they don't
Yep,
have the ability to speak to you.
exactly.
You know, and I think
Exactly.
that's a very hard thing sometimes because people are like, oh, I see they play this role all the time,
Yeah.
but then you're like, you don't have an opportunity to talk to them and ask them why,
Yeah.
right? You just say, okay, this one is always strung out. Every movie I see them and they strung out, and you're like, okay, but then you just fall in love with the fact that this person is getting booked and blessed, and you're like, maybe I need to be strung out on some roles. Let me start looking for those roles, and not understanding why they keep going for those roles.
Hmm. So
So,
I try to be very intentional. Try to be very intentional in the work that I say yes to. If a role doesn't align with my values or the impact I want to have, I walk away.
yeah,
Before it wasn't so easy to walk away because you're just trying to sharpen those skills. But once
yeah,
you have an understanding, once you have some skin in the game, you start to see things differently, and so you start to act differently, right? You start to be more intentional.
yeah,
And obviously sometimes that affects your income, right? Because it's like, damn, you turning down this role, you need this money, whatever. But I rather have peace of mind than a check, okay, that cost me my integrity.
mm,
I rather the peace of mind. Any
yeah.
day, anytime, come on.
And you know what? It's crazy how life really works, right? When you come to America, right, as an immigrant, you're like, oh, fast paced, take everything. Every opportunity is an opportunity. Gotta go for it. Gotta hustle. Gotta make this money. And then you get to a place in time where you're like, I don't need to do that.
Mm-mm.
I was taught that, but
Mhm.
I don't need to do that.
Mhm.
And that just goes to show again that you wised up in the industry. Some people are in the industry 20, 30 years and still doing the same exact thing, right? And yes, of course, they might be getting paid and some checks coming in, but do they really feel like full, right? The minute we got on this conversation, like smiling from ear to ear over here when I'm looking at you, you're like, yeah, I'm good. I'm living my best, right? So I'm sitting here like, yes, of course, she's a model and yes, an actress and an author as well too. But you could tell like your peace of mind, you really do own it.
Oh yeah,
It's like there's it's not non-negotiable. Like
non-negotiable.
Haitian food and Jamaican food we was talking about earlier.
Exact. See, I like you.
You know what I'm saying? You was like non-negotiable on that. Haitian hold it down. So I get you. It's non-negotiable. That peace of mind. And some people in the industry, and I'm glad we're having this conversation and we're talking into diving deeper into it because the younger individuals, the young next generation listening to this conversation is gonna say, you know what? I'm chasing a check, but should I be alternating that and chasing a peace of mind? And we're just speaking against those young adults, letting them know, like, look, at some point in time, that's way more important. Of course, like you said in the beginning, you and I'm glad you were very open and vulnerable about it. You said I didn't start off like that.
Yeah, no.
You were just diving in. You were doing what you already thought you had to do. But then, like you said, once you got some stake in the game, and you
Mhm.
got to know when that is there. You can't be like, well, I don't think I'm ready. And you know, the imposter syndrome kicks in. You're like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. But you figured it out. And now, you picking and choosing. And on top of that, you writing books, children's books. So we talking about the next generation. And you went from like, I just want to inspire the next person under me, but you're going as far as children's books and pouring into young girls. Like, what message do you want them to, get this next generation from the books that you're writing?
Hmm. As a young girl, I remember hearing things like, "You're so beautiful for a black girl." And that stuck with me. Stuck with me. And also too, growing up in books, I never saw myself. There was no representation.
I
So
believe
I
that.
got to a point where I wanted to look like Barbie. I wanted the, long silky hair, and I just wanted to look like them because they did a
They were everywhere.
damn good job. Yeah, boy. They
They
did a
was
damn
everywhere.
good job at drilling that in your head that that's what beauty is.
Hmm.
That's your coarse hair and your listen, your big lips, like that wasn't beauty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's crazy. But now you know what? Everybody wants that.
Oh, listen. They
They
seen the
got every doctor on in Miami and New York, Chicago, Atlanta. You even going to Brazil if you need to. Everybody want to get down.
Yep. They seen the doctors in them. So in reference to children's books, how that started, before I was anything, I was a writer. That's how I escaped life. I love poetry. And so I used to do a lot of humanitarian work back home in Haiti. I have a love for the elderly and children. And I remember one of my last trips before Haiti got into the state that it's in now. I went on that trip and I realized something. Our problem wasn't gently used clothing. It wasn't canned food. It was education, or it is education. It is,
Hmm.
it boils down like every problem that we have boils down to education. And so for me, it was like, okay, well, if I say I want to retire back in my country, how is that going to happen? Because who's teaching that future generation? How are they going to know to govern this country? They don't even know who they are. And that was in 2020. That's how I got into the world of children's books. Actually, I thought I was going to publish my poetry book before writing a children's book. Now, 7 books down the line,
Mm.
um, it's important for me to continue to share the narrative. What narrative? The Haitian narrative. I think it's, when it comes to my country, you don't find much information. Like you have to really dig, right? And also presentation matters. And another thing that I realized too with here in the United States, like I didn't learn about Haitian history in books or in school. It
That,
wasn't taught.
that's right.
Okay. I just became curious because I've always been a curious child, and that's how I started to learn about my country. Did okay. Yeah. So I didn't learn about Haiti in history books, here in the United States. And so for me, it was important to write, books to be able to remind Haitian American kids of who they are, their culture, for them to be able to see themselves in these books. I want when a child to open my book, it feels like home. or it is
Nice.
home. You can
Nice.
identify yourself. You can identify your brothers, your sister, your mother, your father, your aunts, your uncles, because those characters look like you. They speak like you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I felt like was missing. And so therefore that's how I dived into, writing children's books because identity is extremely important to me. Authenticity is extremely important to me. And also, um, making sure m- you don't lose your voice is extremely important to me. So, writing children's books have helped me be able to navigate and tell those stories. And yeah, that's how I got into that world. That's,
And you got a
that
couple. You said a couple books. You know what I'm saying?
yes.
That's pretty honorable. You know what I'm saying? Like you said you thought it would probably be poetry, but then you get into children's books. But I think that, not saying that the poetry wouldn't have influenced people, but I think you met them right where they're at. You got a children's book, you went right to the younger generation and you said, look, I want you to see the representation that I did not see in this
Hmm.
book. And I think that's honorable, right? Because you could have chosen a different path. And it
Yeah,
also, you not only just being an author, you also have your own podcast as well, Rewind,
yeah.
right? Could you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Wow. Oh, yeah. So rewind. Honestly, I think the most impactful conversations are the ones people don't always want to have, especially within the Haitian community. Like so many of those conversations are very taboo, right? Um, and I'm big on healing. I'm big on healing and not just healing, but healing from the root so you're not triggered.
Yep,
And
nice.
so having a podcast, I mean, although I'm just co-host, honestly, if I was just the only host, we'll probably be talking about healing 24/7 on here.
You gotta talk about that inner healing right there.
But being able to have a podcast where you're able to be heard, you're able to have those conversations, those uncomfortable conversations with an audience that some may be ready, some may not be ready, but just the fact that you're able to have a space or a safe space to hold those conversations, that means a lot to me. So, Rewind has been going on, for a couple of months now. I love the direction that we're taking. We interview not just entertainers, but honestly, from whatever walk of life, right? If you have an information to share or whatever it is, the podcast is there for that. It's about culture and it's about uplifting the culture as well.
Mm. That's nice. It's nice. It's nice. It's always good to have, thought leaders on here that also have various different platforms to help promote the culture, whether it be books, whether it be social media, whether it be podcasts. So we're very honored to have individuals like you on that, get to share that with them and that they have another outlet to kind of like reference. Zaka is a wonderful
I mean,
platform.
it's the same thing you're doing.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's good to know that people is like, oh, I'm on the Zaka platform listening to this podcast. But then you know what? She mentioned about rewind, and it just kind of just leads into the next thing. And like you said, a couple questions back, you said in order to learn about the Haitian culture, I was curious. I asked questions. I went looking because it wasn't just available for me. So we're actually dropping some of those gems right now, saying, "Hey, look, go to Zaka. Hey, go to Rewind, and start to hear a little bit more of these stories that potentially could help influence them and help them out on their journey." So I greatly appreciate you for showcasing that. And this, again,
Hmm.
who would have known? Born in Port-au-Prince, moved at the age of 5, moved to New York, Brooklyn to be exact, right? Didn't even speak English, had to learn it, lived in a household that you were like a little confused about a little bit. Then you figured it out. Things happened. Then you went to modeling, actress. then podcast, children's book. Like, who would have thought the young lady from Port-au-Prince would have been doing all of that? So always my hat, I got to tip it off to you right there, because that's a lot. And that's a lot to do in a short period of time, right? I know we talking about our lives and
Well,
how old we are, but this is still a lot. You did a lot in a short period of time. So kudos to you. It just shows the
well,
resilience
you
you
know
have
what?
and how
Someone,
your eagerness to make it. Say again?
yeah, someone once told me that the universe rewards audacity. And I have the audacity to dream. I'm about to say something that may throw some people off, but it's okay because I am known for that. I have the audacity of a mediocre white male because no one feels more entitled than a mediocre white male. And I had to adapt
Mm,
that mentality, right? Because I've been in rooms where I had imposter syndrome and I'm like, dang, I don't belong here. I can count how many Black people are in this room. And then I think, trust and believe. If you did not belong in this room, they would
you wouldn't
not
even,
let you in this room.
that's right. You wouldn't even be in the room.
You would not be in a room.
Yeah. And the universe put you there.
Absolutely.
Not your peers, not the person that you're looking at as like, oh, that's my supervisor or boss. The universe put you there. More importantly, you allow
Yeah.
the universe to put you there because you actually follow through. And you are the one to bear that cross in that room. So yes, of course, you're going to be the only Black
Mhm.
person, and you might feel a little awkward
Yeah.
and feel like you're out of place, but that is your cross to carry, and you're blessed to be in that room. Because our at one point we were
Indeed.
never even looked at to be in the room, let alone in the building, and that
That.
wasn't so long ago. We're not talking about millions of years ago, right? When you really do the math, when you really do the math, and some places still today have those issues that they're still working through and stuff like that. But not that long ago, we weren't even in the building. So shout out to that. You really came through. You're like, look, I get an opportunity to talk. My voice is going to be heard. Podcasts, books, TV, modeling. We rocking. We rocking. You have a lot of successful stories. And what are some of like the unseen challenges that you had to overcome? Because I mean, we're talking about a lot of the success podcasts, being an actress and a author of many books. But like, what is like one challenge that like you don't want that you always remember sticks with you?
One of my biggest challenges whew, was learning to move forward alone. What do I mean by that?
Mm,
Sometimes out of fear, we try bringing people along with us, along for the journey because we're afraid of the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't believe in ourselves enough, right? So let me bring that friend. Let me bring that coworker. Let me bring that colleague, right? Even when they're not aligned with the journey. And I've done that so many times in life. And each and every one of those was a L for me, a
mm,
loss. And I'm not saying that partnership isn't great. I'm not saying we should not have partnership. Actually, I vouch for partnership. Okay, we go further together. All right.
true.
Um, what I do want to say is though, I had to learn that starting alone isn't failure. You know what I mean? It's often necessary. It's how you build something real before it expands. So there were so many great ideas that I had, and I brought someone along, and guess what? That great idea went down the drain because I brought someone that wasn't aligned. And so therefore it went down, listen, done, finish, move on to the next. And I even say this, I'm going to take it further so people can understand. Like even writing children's books, right? When I started that journey, I started it with a friend. Still my friend. We have a great friendship. It's just
Mhm.
business wise, we don't really, it's not really working. And I was afraid to take the leap by myself. And I'm like, oh my God, can I do this alone? Like, should I go alone? I'm afraid to go alone. Not that I can't write. I've been writing all my life. When I realized that it wasn't going to work, you know what I did? Before us having this partnership, I wrote a book. I wrote that book. I didn't get the book edited. Listen, it was just basically a rush. I did not give myself the time to process what I was doing because I knew I would talk myself out of it, out of fear, because this is something I'm about to do alone. Okay, yeah. And I got the book published while I was still in this partnership. And I look at this book today. I'm so
That's right.
embarrassed by the book. Let me tell you what I realized within a week of that embarrassment, that was my permission slip to myself that I can do it alone. That
Mm.
doing it alone doesn't mean you're going to fail. Doing
You might not have the same resources.
it alone does not mean you're going to fail. Bingo. But let me tell you also what that did. Once I realized that I could do it alone, I started taking those risks. And that's how I started being in these rooms
Okay.
because I faced that fear of doing it alone. And I think most time that's what our problem is. And that's why we take a lot of L's because we don't want to go through the pressure alone. But I tell people all the time, listen, when God was giving you your vision, when God was telling you it's going to be, it wasn't a conference call with your friends, with your family members. It was just you and
Nah,
him.
he was talking to you
And you got to
directly.
trust. Exactly. And you got to trust that. So I think some of my biggest challenges has been, not doing it alone, bringing someone along the ride. And, you know, it's not, it's not, it's not what they wanted, So their vision and my vision doesn't align, right? And I just did it out of fear. And
Hmm.
so it allowed a lot of challenges. I took a lot of L's. And so, yeah, sometimes it's necessary to start alone. And once you have something real, then you can expand and bring others onto the party.
I do have a lot of colleagues of mine that
Yeah.
they build something with other individuals, right? And then at a certain point in time, the alignment is not there, the visions, right? Because what you start off building and creating, it sounds amazing together, but then when you realize that they don't share the same love or passion, how do you deal with something like that? Like how you were just talking about, like you had to do things on your own, walking alone, walking that path alone. Like when did you realize like you got to make a split? Like you got to step into your own shoes
Mhm.
and really just kind of push for this on your own.
Ooh. Um, I think God will give you the signs. Now, you may choose to ignore them, which I've done a million times. But I guarantee you, whatever it is that you started, even when it could have been successful, it will fail. That's just what it is. That's been my experience, right? And like with my children's books, that's still one of my best friends, right? However, I think that we jumped into something because out of fear, not out of alignment. And so even when it came down to having that conversation and them wanting to make it work now, right? It had a right to say this does not align. And as much as it hurts me, as much as I'm afraid, to go about this alone. to continue alone, to start all over alone. I must. Because there are certain things for you to learn, right? Or for you to be able to have that muscle of what's the word? My mind is thinking in Creole. But have that reflex. It needs to be done alone. You need to be able to test your strength. You need to know how you need to be able to understand how brave you are, how courageous you are, right? And
Hmm.
most times you don't know that when you're in a pack, when you're in a team. You understand what I'm saying? But you will know when you're alone. And that's how
Yeah,
too you will know if you're doing something, that's in alignment and when it's not in alignment. Because when it's in alignment, you're gonna do it scared. You go, oh, you're going to do it scared. And I've done it scared. And it took one time for me to do it scared. And it wasn't even done right. But I said, this book, I basically will frame it and it will be my story because that's my permission slip. That's my permission slip that birth, okay, 5 books.
mm,
That was
look at
my
that.
permission slip.
Come
But
on.
if I was still with my business, okay, I probably still would have been just 2 books in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
But
mean,
that
and
book
not saying that,
shaped.
not saying that this person would have held you back, but you truly will see your true potential when you're
No,
alone. When you're alone.
absolutely.
You're right. Running with a pack is a pack, but running by yourself is totally different. But you know what happens? A
It's
lot of
also
us,
necessary.
yeah, a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we do get those imposter syndromes. We do get a little worried, especially when we have something that we built from the ground up and it's our baby, right? We're like, this is mine. I built this. And then you add other people in, and then all of a sudden, visions start changing. People start throwing out new ideas, and you're like, hey guys, this is where I need you to be at. We're right here. But then when you already got 10 chefs in the kitchen, it's a lot harder to make that decision. But again, you're gonna have to make that decision. And then, like you said, you made that was your permission slip, right? And look at that, 5 books later. So, and you would have never thought you would have been able to achieve that by yourself. But it just goes to show you how strong you are, and a lot how your culture has kind of helped bring you up to be that person. And you just gotta have faith in that journey right there. I think that's
You gotta have
important.
faith. And it's a
That's amazing. Amazing story.
it's okay to walk away, with grace, having grace for one another. It's just sometimes it doesn't align and that's okay. But you need to know why you're forming that partnership. And as
Yep.
I said, that's just my own personal journey. I've realized that everything that I've tried to build with someone else that I knew deep down inside, God said, I want you to take that path alone. It went
Hmm.
downhill. Didn't work out.
So, what would you say for young women, especially for those immigrants or underrepresented backgrounds? How do you feel, or what would you tell them? How do they gain their voice? You see how you gain your voice by having that permission slip. How could they reclaim their voice?
Mhm. I think the first step is accepting your truth fully. Sometimes we're afraid. We're afraid to accept the truth. We're afraid to look at ourselves in the mirror because we're not ready for what it may say or what we may look like or at. Um, but it's good to sit in your truth, regardless of how uncomfortable that truth may feel. Um, and then making a commitment, making a commitment to yourself that once you find your voice again, you you protect it at all costs. Because for me, that's what has protected me throughout the modeling industry. Staying true to self. Because peer pressure, ooh,
Mm, don't even get me
all the
started.
girls are going to the club, the
Don't get me started.
rappers, after you done finish the video, wrap up, and then they're like, yeah, we going to the club, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And then you're like, dang, I want to be a part of the cool kids. I
Everybody
want to
does.
go party. I want, so it's standing in your truth, whatever that truth is, and owning it. Because that's how you start to find your voice.
Yeah.
And that's how you start to reclaim what's yours, right? By not hiding. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. And I've always been that type of a person. Like I yeah. Let me stand in my truth. Regardless
Mm-hmm.
how ugly it is, how broken it may seem. Let me stand in my truth because I know that that foundation is solid, regardless of how the story may look. And that to me is of utmost importance. And then when you do find your voice, you hold on to it at all costs. You protect it at all costs.
Mm-hmm. But
So
how do
that's
you
what I would say.
balance how do
I'm
you
a big
balance your I'm loving how you breaking that down. It brings me to that next question. Like, how did you balance personally your like, that external validation, but then also having that internal self-awareness and personal growth? Because you're talking about like going to the club, that's like that. You want that validation. You want to be like, well, I'm down with the cool kids, but then at the same time, you're like, no, this is my own personal growth. This is my permission slip. Like you had to it's like it seems like there's like two hats being worn at the same time, and mind you, it's like you're just trying to find your way.
Mhm. um by making sure my voice is the loudest in my head. I don't
Good
even know
point.
how to really explain that. But my voice overshadows every other voice. And I had to
That's nice.
master that because the reality of it is there is peer pressure. You want to be with the cool kids. You want to show that you're cool. You want to be accepted. You want to have friends. But having those things and still feeling a void and still feeling like there is an alignment, where does that get you? Nowhere. It gets you nowhere. You know? It's so crazy because I grew up in church and once like I I left church for like a good while, right? And finding myself and doing my own thing or whatnot. And most people in church thought like, oh, now she's wild, she's this, she's that. And the reality of it is, um, I don't know. I've always been like a grounded spirit. Like those things like was just of never of interest to me. Not that I've
Mm-hmm.
never walked into to a club. Absolutely, right? But that just does not define me. I'm not one of those. It's like, okay, I'm thinking about, okay, what we wearing Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night to the club.
Yeah,
No, it's
you
never
probably
been my
think about how we
mindset.
buy in the
And
club.
I'm grateful for that, right? I'm grateful for that because exactly. I'm grateful for that because I truly believe that, you don't choose God, God chooses you. And God chose me long time ago. And so for me, even through the bad was also for my good,
Yeah.
right? And so I've been able to just be intentional about what I allow in, what goes
Mm-hmm.
out. Like I'm one of those friends, my friends be like, girl, you don't listen to the radio. I'm like, girl, I gotta filter what I listen to. And sometimes
No,
they're
you're
like,
right.
gosh, sometimes you're just too serious. You don't. I said, listen, I remember there was one song by Beyonce that came out, and I was like, I don't really care for this song. It ain't that good. Listen, after the radio station that played it for 2 weeks, that was one of my favorite songs. They know how to drill it into your head.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You're right.
Marketing.
You're right. You're right.
So you have to be intentional. intentional about what you listen to, intentional with the friends that you have, intentional places that you go. You have to, especially if you're trying to build something out of nothing,
Mm.
especially being an immigrant, being a
Hmm.
Haitian. They don't want you here. This is not my country.
And the
Don't
world
get me
ain't
wrong. I'm
safe.
happy to be able, listen, to be able to be here and the many opportunities that I have. Yes, indeed. But any day now, they could be like, okay, it's time for you to go home.
Uh,
If I enter your house right now and you ready to go to sleep and you kicking me out, what? I gotta get out.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
are we
yeah.
making a bed? Because one day you're gonna have to lay in it.
You
I
bringing
don't
out
know.
some
My
serious stuff
mentality
right
is
there.
just yeah, my mentality is just a little different. And
It's
I
it's
think
grown.
it's also has to it
It's grown. It's mature.
has to
It's
do with
wise.
upbringing,
You know what I'm saying? Like you know
you
you've been
know?
in the game, and not even just the game, but I think just in general, like your whole life and the things that you've gone through has really shaped you and molded you to being the person that you are today. And again, if it wasn't for those experiences, you wouldn't be the person you are, right? You wouldn't be able to speak the way you're speaking right now. And I feel like that is very important for young Black women with Haitian descent or just African American descent to hear how you're speaking. You speak with so much confidence and intention, right? That some people are like, I don't even know if I speak like that. I don't even know if I carry myself like that. How does she do it? Right. And then the good thing about it is that you're expressing like, hey, look, I didn't start off like this. Like it started off like this. And through those experiences, good and bad, I learned from all of them and it got
Mhm.
me to this place. So you're giving a lot of hope for a lot of these individuals that are coming up behind you. So thank you for sharing a lot of your stories, the journeys, and really smiling through them as you talk about it. I know sometimes those things can be kind of hard to talk about, but you're like, hey, look, this happened. I want to be with the cool kids, but I had to pick and choose my battles. And you're speaking some serious stuff, doing things with intentions. List everything you listen to, just the story of the Beyonce thing. Like I you opened my eyes to that because it makes me think about that too. Like it's just the radio. It was one song, and you were like, yeah, whatever. It's
Mhm.
just a song. 2 weeks later, you know every word. You know where
Mhm.
the music drops in, and you know when they're gonna play the song. Possibly, you could be probably at karaoke that same night and ready to perform it. But that's what they do to us, right? So I'm glad you're bringing it down, and it brings me to my last question for you. Is
Yeah.
like you definitely have this legacy that you're creating and developing and stuff like that. What do you want young women to think about you, young girls to think about you, and this legacy that you're developing? Like, how do you want them to feel or walk away from all the work that you're doing, and kind of like, what do you want them to walk away with?
Okay, well, so first and foremost, for me, legacy is about um it's about impact, right? That lives long after you're gone. I want young girls and and women to something I might have said, something I created, or something I stood for. If they can recognize their own greatness through my work, then I've done what I was meant to do. You know? Like like if you're just like me, then that means that I didn't do the work. You need to be greater than me. You need to be greater than me. Because when I meet people, I want to leave them better than how I found them, right? And so for me, if they can recognize their own greatness through my work, then yeah, I've done my job. That I want these young women, little girls to see themselves differently because of the way that I move, because of something that I said, because of something that I created. And yeah, that's what legacy is. It's not about how much money you got in your account, how big your house is, how many cars you have. No, it's when you're gone and people are able to recognize the greatness of you through the younger generation. And so,
Well,
yeah.
Tico, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and also from the Zaka community for being on our podcast today and really just opening up, being vulnerable, and sharing all these stories and also these messages, right? These gems that people could walk away with, right? I know that you spoke heavily on the Haitian culture, bringing it to light because I know it's been several times and throughout the course of history where the Haitian culture was not looked at in a good way, right? I think that you definitely put a spin on the entertainment business. You make it fun and entertaining. I know that there is some hardships and obviously people could get lost in the sauce, but I think the quicker you find yourself as an individual, the quicker you could then find that joy and that smile that you do share on this podcast. So thank you so much for just being present and just kind of just again just opening up to our community.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this platform. I appreciate the initiative. I love what it is that you guys are doing,
Cutting up.
doing it because your voice, your voice, that now I honor growth, and who wouldn't want to be a part of that?
Come on, come on, Zaka. Let's get it. And we're going to rewind as well, too. So I want to let the listeners know if you want to hear more inspirational stories like Tico, please check us out on ZakaConnect.com. Follow us on our social at Zaka Connect and follow our feed Zaka wherever you listen to your podcasts.